The last two
Yes.
sentences.
We have a duty to analyze this hadith, to think, because Allah sent the Quran to people who think. And when we do that, we come to the conclusion that the Muslim army will conquer Constantinople in the end time,
Yes.
after the Great War, not 1453, so that we might be able to correct certain wrong things that occurred before, and which are stumbling blocks in the movement of history. What are those wrong things? Number one on the agenda, most important of all, is that when the Ottoman Sultan conquered Constantinople in 1453, the first thing that that man did when he entered Constantinople was to take the greatest cathedral of the Christian world outside of Jerusalem, Hagia Sophia, which had functioned in that capacity for 1,000 years. And the Sultan, the Ottoman Sultan, shamefully, disgracefully, and sinfully transformed Hagia Sophia to a masjid. I told that to Foreign Minister abroad. I said it to him. Transform Hagia Sophia to a masjid. It was sinful because the Quran has ordered us in Surah Al-Hajj to fight, if necessary, to protect it. So when we conquer Constantinople, we return Hagia Sophia to those to whom it rightfully belongs. And I tell them to their faces, you can't stop us. Erdogan, you can't stop us. The Turkish armed forces, you cannot stop us. No one can stop us, because we will conquer the city. The second reason, this is analysis. The second reason why a conquest of Constantinople will take place, and it's a Muslim army that do it, is because we will then liberate the Bosphorus for the Russian Navy.
From?
The Russian Navy will then be able to pass from the Black Sea, from Crimea, into the Mediterranean Sea. And that is bad news. That is bad news for Israel. Number three, because our Prophet used the name Constantinople, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُنْسْتَنْتِنِيَّةِ, those were his words. The name Constantinople is Sunnah. So they can protest as much as they want. We will restore the name of the city to Constantinople. And number 4, no Christian people have suffered more at the hands of so-called Muslims than the Armenian Christians. They have suffered genocide. 1 million or more were killed in that genocide. And they were driven from their homes. Yes, they were driven from their homes, and they're crying now. Where they had lived for 4,000 years or more, they've been driven out of their lands. So we say, and you should not doubt our words, that when we conquer Constantinople, all those who've been driven out of their homes for no just cause, most of all the Armenian Christians, brothers, come back to your home. And you and us will live together as a fraternity. Can you imagine how happy Foreign Minister Lavrov
Yes.
was to hear these words. Can you imagine?
Yes,
This is
just
what the
right.
Prophet said about the conquest of Constantinople. Yeah.
Interesting. But I think that a lot of conservative scholars, they argue your position. I think they criticize your position. How would you answer them?
I don't.
Why?
I part from falsehood.
Hmm.
When I have made an effort, and the Lord God, Allah Ta'ala, can see I have made an effort to teach the subject, and they reject what I say, and they insult me, and they abuse me, then the time comes for me to follow in the footsteps of that great teacher, Khidr alayhi salam.
Mhm.
This is Surah Al-Kahf, who said to Musa alayhi salam, he was not speaking to Musa, he's speaking to his ummah. This is the parting. You go your way and leave me alone.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying to them now. When I have attempted to teach you and point out to you you are misguided and you're not willing to listen, then gently I want to part from you because you're a danger to me. I'm not going to make any effort to convince them
Mhm.
because it's a waste of time.
Do you know, dear Sheikh, that in the same time with you, a big delegation from Palestinian parties visits, has a visit to Moscow. And they are meeting with Sergei Lavrov too, because they are trying to get closer to each other and to unite their ranks in order to form the united government. Can you please explain which role can play Russia as an orthodox power in this conflict at the Holy Land against Zionism?
Until that moment in time, maybe 3 months ago, when I don't use the term Hamas, I don't use the term Taliban, I don't use the term Houthi. I speak of the authentic Islamic resistance in Afghanistan. I speak of the authentic Islamic resistance in Yemen. And I speak of the authentic Islamic resistance in Gaza. Because we are all the same, it's one Islamic resistance. So until that moment in time when the Islamic resistance attacked Israel, in that massive attack, Russia was following one policy with respect to Israel. It was a subdued policy. It was a policy in which Russia recognized that there were important links with Israel, a huge Russian population in Israel. And Russia was treading gingerly, gently in her relations with Israel. And all these years I kept silent, I never spoke about Russia's foreign policy with Israel. But once the Islamic resistance had launched that war, and they did it for the primary purpose of sabotaging Saudi Arabia's effort to recognize Israel with a deal.
Yes.
And it was being engineered in Washington by the Zionists. And the Islamic resistance successfully stopped it in its tracks. Saudi Arabia will probably have to wait 100 years before they could again make an effort to recognize Israel. That's the dream now. And then Israel responded the way she did. The Russians are smart. the Russian president spoke and said that weapons which were being sent to Ukraine were being sold in the market. Right?
Yes.
They were being sold in the market to open a door.
Excuse me, please, Sheikh.